Hello and welcome back to Democracy, everybody. Welcome back to Helldivers 2, where today we're going to be going over all the armor passives, and we're going to be talking about the ranks that I would give them. Now, this isn't really to discourage anybody from trying out any of these armors, because we're not going to have anything lower than C tier anyway, which I consider still decent. It has some sort of niche to it. I don't think there's any armor passive that's really terrible, nor do I think that there's really any armor that's terrible. And most importantly, you should be prioritizing fun, or in this case, probably style, over everything else. These also aren't in a particular order. It's just like this is going to be all the C tier armors, this is going to be all the B tier armors. They can all have their own specific uses and niches for this, and we'll kind of talk about the pros and cons to each of those. So let's start out with the C tier armors, the armors that I wouldn't necessarily consider the best. They're kind of niche use in one way or another. First up is the ballistic padding armor. This one is kind of interesting. This one makes it so you get 25% less damage from your chest being hurt at all, 25% explosive resist, that's probably the biggest bonus from this, and then also prevents all damage from bleeding chest hemorrhages. That actually used to be a passive of the health booster before that was changed, because it would actually low roll the damage. It still does that, so you don't bleed out as fast if you do have the health booster, but it used to just completely ignore it because it would actually roll the damage down below 1 point of damage, so it couldn't actually kill you, which was funny. Ballistic padding kind of brings that back. That also sort of made this worse when it first came out because the health booster was still I guess functioning like that. It wasn't really bugged because it still works that way. It's just now you can't actually bleed out from chest wounds. That part makes this feel a little bit redundant to me because we already have the chest damage resistance, and if we get crippled limbs, most of the time you're probably going to heal them up, unless it's like a broken arm on one hit and you still have a lot of health. But if like a leg breaks or your chest gets broken, you're probably going to just heal up right away, assuming that you still have syringes. And if you don't have syringes, then this isn't good. That's probably not a good situation for you to be in, and you're likely going to die unless you have teammates nearby that can heal you. The explosive resistance is the best part of ballistic padding, I would say, and like the armors do look really cool. This came in the Judge Dredd War bond, the Force of Law War bond, and like the fortified armor is really good. Fortified is fantastic, but I'd much rather have fortified over ballistic padding, since that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for, is just the explosive resistance if I'm going to be using this. Next up is the Adreno Defibrillator armor. This one is interesting. This one sounded really cool when it first came out. So this one makes it so you can resurrect yourself. This also increases your stim duration, and it also gives you arc damage resistance. Once you are brought back to life, though, you're in critical health, meaning that you pretty much have all of your limbs broken, so you can't run, you can only limp, and you bleed out rapidly. This does make it so the Adreno Defibrillator is pretty awkward most of the time. You also have to still have a body remaining for this to trigger, so if you got like your head blown off, you're not going to resurrect as a headless corpse. Sadly, that isn't implemented. Same thing if you get like your limbs, or let's say you're completely blown apart by an explosion, then this doesn't work. So there is kind of a condition for this to be met for it to work in the first place. Also, if you're just not dying throughout missions, then the Adreno Defibrillator basically does nothing. There is one bug, at least that was going on, I haven't checked this in a while, but if you were to resurrect and hop into a mech, then you would stay alive, which is kind of cool. The other main bonus that I've seen from Adreno Defibrillator is really just having the Hellbomb backpack, and then like rushing to a particular site, and then if you die and happen to not get blown apart, you can usually then pick yourself back up, arm the Hellbomb, and kind of limp it to wherever you need it to go. And that can be kind of useful. That is a bonus, but assuming that you weren't really dying that much, you could arm the Hellbomb and be fine regardless. So I don't know, this one feels really niche. I was hoping it'd be a whole lot better because this one sounded amazing for like solo play, since it would essentially give you like double lives, but not really. Up next is integrated explosives. Integrated explosives did get buffed, but this one is still a little bit awkward. So this one makes it so once you die, then you explode 1.5 seconds afterward. The explosion does do a lot of damage. You can kill pretty big things though. You can kill like tanks, hulks, chargers. There's quite a few things that you can kill thanks to the explosives actually going off, which is funny. You also get 2 extra grenades, or 2 extra throwables, which is good. That's nice. That's part of the engineering kit passive, which is a pretty good bonus as well. I kind of like that for most of the explosives. The integrated explosives themselves are kind of awkward though, because again, if you're not dying, then this one's not really going to be all that useful. And also, if you die in an inconvenient location, then you're really not getting any value from this. It can also blow up teammates. That doesn't happen super frequently. I haven't really seen that happen in quite a while. It kind of happened the first like week or so when this armor was first introduced, but after that, anybody that actually uses it tends not to die like right next to teammates unless your body gets like kicked into a teammate or something and then exploded, which is kind of annoying, but it also makes for some really funny moments. So I do appreciate this armor a lot. It's just not the most practical armor in my opinion though. Next armor is Advanced Filtration. This one is the poison resist armor. This one gives you 80% resistance towards gas. This one is just not super great because like 80% resistance is really cool. That is really nice. Gas really doesn't affect you, but you and your teammates are the only people that can actually be using gas. None of the enemies count as using gas. If this counted towards like acid damage, I think this would be a whole lot better. Then it would actually be pretty nice. But this is basically just so you don't end up gassing yourself with like the gas strike, the gas grenades, the sterilizer, things like that. And those weapons can be really good, especially on like bug and squid missions, and I find those to be actually really nice. But a lot of the time you don't even really need them with like that set of armor because the gas deals damage slowly over time, and usually you have enough time to heal up even when you're like running through gas strikes and stuff. You're usually okay if you pop a stim. So I think this one's kind of the weakest of the elemental resistances armors. And then our very last C tier is Democracy Protects. Now this one is a super fun armor passive to have. This one gives you a 50% chance of not dying whenever you would take lethal damage, and it also prevents your chest from bleeding out once again. So that's kind of nice, and like I said, this did get changed thanks to the health booster, so that actually has a passive now, rather than it just not really existing if you took the health booster. The 50% chance of not taking lethal damage can be pretty good. It just depends on when it triggers and how often it triggers, because you can get it triggering multiple times back to back and potentially survive a whole lot of stuff that you should have died from. It's also really good if you get hit by something very powerful, like let's say you dropped a 500 kg on yourself, or let's say like the factory strider shot you with its main cannon or something. You might actually survive it thanks to Democracy Protects. The problem with this though is like if you got swarmed by bugs and then you would go down and one hit didn't kill you, but then you're still getting swarmed and you're probably going to die regardless. This one doesn't really help all that much, and it's also only on medium armor. If this was on like light armor, I could see this being actually really good. I think that would make Democracy Protects amazing. If it was on heavy armor, I honestly don't know if it would change anything, simply because like you're usually pretty tanky in heavy armor, but it could be useful for like those one-shot things on like bot missions like the Factory Strider's main cannon or something. So Democracy Protects, very fun passive, but not super reliable, and I'd rather have other things for making me a bit tankier overall if I'm going to go with kind of like this playstyle. Then we move on to the B tier armors that are generally pretty good, armor passives that are usually pretty nice. First up, we have the Halo one, which is the Feet First. This one makes it so you cause 50% less noise whenever you're running around, which is kind of cool. It also increases your point of interest identification by 30%, and it makes you immune to leg injuries. All of these are just kind of nice passives to have. Like the 50% reduced noise is kind of nice if you're doing stealth. I don't really play stealthy, but for those who like it, you can kind of do that. Point of interest locations is kind of nice, especially if you want to be like farming stuff. That is pretty good. It'd be better if this was on like a light armor, since this is also only on medium armor. And then the immunity to leg injuries is really good, because having your legs crippled is probably the most annoying thing to have crippled. Like if your arms are crippled, it's not that bad. It doesn't slow you down, it just makes you a little bit less accurate, but with certain weapons that hardly matters. And then like your chest being wounded, yeah, that sucks because you're gonna bleed out, but it still doesn't usually kill you immediately. You have time to react for that. If you get your legs crippled and you just can't get away from stuff, it's terrible, especially if you get like one leg crippled, you heal up, and you get the other leg crippled, and you gotta heal up again. It's just very annoying, especially outside of combat if you ran out of stims and you just gotta limp your way everywhere. So like the Feet First armor is kind of nice for that. It's nothing way crazy, but it is nice. Up next is Servo Assisted. This one gives you 30% longer throwing range. This counts for grenades as well as stratagems, and it also gives you 50% more limb health. Again, just a nice passive overall. Like throwing things further is pretty good, especially if you like taking barrages and you just want to throw those on like the objectives directly. That is really nice, and making it so your limbs don't take as much damage means that you're less likely to get broken limbs, which is also pretty good because your arms do break pretty fast. Legs, like I said, can be annoying if they break, and chest breaking can also be kind of annoying. So just kind of an okay passive. Then we've got Engineering Kit, which I think has the most armor sets in it when I checked. I think it has like 12 armor sets or something like that. It's got a lot more than what I thought. So this one reduces recoil with weapons, which is really nice. This one does say when crouched or prone, but I believe it's in any stance. So that's pretty good. Most weapons don't have so much recoil that it's hard to control, but certain ones kind of do, like anti-material rifle or like heavy machine gun have a decent amount. So this one is kind of nice for them. And then you also get extra throwables with this. good if you want to be like rushing missions quickly, especially like, let's say, bug blitz missions where you just want to be throwing grenades down tunnels as fast as you can. Assuming you don't have things like the grenade pistol. I mean, you could do it in conjunction with the grenade pistol too and just clear them up faster. Engineering kit's a very basic passive, but it's a nice one. Then we've got electrical conduit. Electrical conduit gives you 95% resistance towards arc damage. This is quite a bit, but there's not a whole lot of enemies that use arc damage. This is mostly for yourself or if teammates are using electricity-based builds. So there is a couple weapons that can hurt you with this. The arc thrower, the blitzer, the guard dog arc, the Tesla tower could be the main one. And then like there's the illuminate enemies like the towers themselves and the harvesters that zap you if you get close. As well as I guess the drones too, but those electricity hardly matters. So this one's kind of nice if you're going with a full electricity build. I think it's a little bit more useful than like the gas build is. Just because the electricity can kill you, like the arc tower can be a friendly fire machine. Same thing goes with like the arc thrower or the blitzer if you're using it just kind of willy-nilly. But if your teammate's not bringing a whole lot of electricity, and neither are you, then this one is just kind of okay. Up next we have Unflinching. Unflinching got a whole lot better once it got buffed. So this one makes it so it helps prevent Helldivers flinching when they get hit, which does make it so you can keep on target a little bit easier. This one also ups your armor rating. This isn't as much as like extra padding, this is half of extra padding. And this one also makes it so whenever you ping the map, then you get kind of a scanner like you do a scout. This one has gotten a whole lot better. If this ever got a heavy armor, I think it would be really good. I think heavy armor and flinching would be really nice to have. The medium armors are pretty nice with this too. Light armor's a little bit iffy. I don't like it as much, even though it looks cooler than like the Warbond medium armor. You kind of gotta get the Superstore medium armor that looks way cooler. So this one used to be probably the worst passive in the game, but it has gotten significantly better. It is pretty decent now. You do get tankier overall, and that tankiness, especially with the health booster, does help survive a couple more hits than you would think. Like, I do like taking unflinching medium armor on like bug and squid missions in particular. It's really nice there. Then we have Acclimated. This one was the Killzone collab armor that if you're on Xbox, then you don't have access to it. I don't think you're missing out on too much with this though, since this one gives you 50% resistance towards pretty much all elements. So this is fire, gas, acid, and electrical. Kind of nice. There was only, I think, 2 armors that came with this, a free light armor and a Superstore medium armor, I believe. And, like, they're okay. I only have the light one. It's fine. It's not really my favorite, especially with the Desert Stormer armor that came out. I think that one's just way better than this. But this one's okay, too. Like, 50% damage resist from all elements is gonna be nice regardless. Then we have Gunslinger. This one came in the Cowboy Warbond. That makes it so your sidearm has 40% faster reload speed, 50% faster holster and draw speed, and then also 50% reduced recoil when firing this. This one's pretty nice, especially if you like your secondary a lot, and it can be really useful for certain ones. Like, I like it with the Bushwhacker, it's really good with the Senator or with the Talon. It's actually pretty decent with, like, the submachine gun, too. I really like the really fast reload speed and the reduced recoil with it. So, like, it can definitely be good. On certain passives, this one's not really gonna matter. Like, let's say the Ultimatum. It's like, who cares? You're just gonna shoot it once and then put it away. I mean, like, the holster and draw speed's gonna make a little bit of difference there, but everything else is just sort of whatever. Gunslinger does look really cool, though. I kind of wish this would give you, like, more damage with your secondary, though, so you could kind of go with, like, a whole secondary build. I also really would like it if they would make, like, dual-wielding a thing, whether it be, like, a primary or a secondary option or some other, like, special weapon option. I could definitely see, like, dual-wielding, like, submachine guns or bushwhackers or senators or something like that would be pretty awesome. I mean, maybe not the strongest, but it would be really cool. And then our last B tier is the Reinforced Epaulets. I think I'm saying that one right. I'm not sure, though. This one increases reload speed from primary weapons by 30%. That's pretty good. It's very similar to Siege Ready in that regard. It also makes it so you have 50% chance of avoiding grievous limb injury, so when you would break a limb, this basically rolls it to where you might not. It's kind of like a mini Democracy Protects, but it won't actually save your life overall. And then you also get 50% increased melee damage. This armor is honestly pretty good. It does give you a lot of bonuses that you would like to see, but it's not really my favorite for those bonuses. Like, if I'm going with melee, I'd rather have Peak Physique. If I'm going with, like, increased reload speed for primary weapons, I'd rather go with Siege Ready because I also get more ammo overall. So it's kind of like that middle ground between them, but I don't necessarily like it as much as either of them. It's not bad by any means, and like the armors do look really cool from this set. This comes from the Masters of Ceremony set. They look really awesome. And now moving up to the A tier armors that are going to be pretty good regardless of how you play them, with like maybe one exception because one of these does heavily benefit based on the loadout you're using. So first up in A tier, we have Scout. Scout is pretty good if you like playing stealthy. It's really good if you want to be taking like smokes and stuff and just running around the map. So this one doesn't have a heavy armor. I don't think it should have a heavy armor, honestly. Heavy armor wouldn't do anything for it. Nobody would run it. But it does make it so if you ping the map somewhere, then you can see more enemies in that area, which is pretty good. It also makes it so enemies are 30% less likely to detect you. This is really important if you want to be rushing certain mission objectives. Like, that's the main bonus that Scout has, is that you can rush the main mission objectives or even secondary objectives in relative peace. Even more so now with certain weapons, like any of the suppressed weapons or any of the weapons that don't count as making noise, like the crossbow doesn't, funny enough, even though it has explosive bolts in it. It can be really good for just taking out like the initial enemies in an area, then doing the objective and just kind of hiding within that objective to where enemies aren't spotting you. That's why I say smokes are really nice for this. I usually don't play this way, which is why I don't really take Scout, but I don't think this is bad either. Up next, we have Peak Physique. Peak Physique is pretty decent. So this one gives you 100% more melee damage. This is with absolutely everything. So this can be dedicated melee weapons or weapons with bayonets or just hitting stuff, so that's kind of nice. And this also increases your weapons handling and you have less drag when moving it. That second part is actually really useful for Peak Physique. This is pretty nice, especially if you like taking big heavy weapons or weapons that don't have very good ergonomics. So this could be things like the Eruptor, assuming that you don't already have like the iron sights and the vertical or the angled grip on it. That can make that a whole lot easier. The heavy machine gun benefits heavily from Peak Physique. The autocannon does as well. Anything that's kind of slow to move between targets, Peak Physique does make those a whole lot better. So even if you're not really into the melee bonus from this, you could just look at it as like the transition speed between the weapons is still really good. And then on melee builds, this one is probably like the best melee build armor or one of the best melee build armors that you could have. Up next is Inflammable. I think this one is the best of the elemental resistance armors besides like the next one we're going to talk about, in which case then they're kind of either one of them is good. But Inflammable gives you 75% damage resistance towards fire. This is really useful because there's a lot of ways to use fire in this game, and there's a lot more things that have fire in this than the other elements. So if you're going with a flamer build, like let's say you're taking the flamethrower or the torture or the little scorcher, I don't remember what it's called, the little handheld flamer crisper, that's the one. Any of those, the double-edged sickle can also light you on fire, and having flame resistance is really good for those weapons. Even more so if you want to take the health booster on top of this, because again, damage is rolled down in Helldivers, so you take less damage from the fire. That's really nice. Fire overall is pretty good though, and there is at least a decent amount of enemies that have fire too, like the Incendiary Corpse and the bots. Those have fire on them, so you can potentially take less damage there. There is just like fire barrels sitting around the maps that might light on fire. There's the fire tornadoes and stuff. So Inflammable is pretty decent. It's actually a really good armor passive to have. I really like the heavy fire armor, like the Salamander armor. That one looks really cool, and it's very useful with a fire build. And then our very last A tier goes to the Desert Stormer armor. This one's pretty good. I think this one is the best overall elemental armor because this one gives you 40% resistance towards all elemental effects, similar to like Acclimated does, but it also gives you 20% increased throwing distance. So I think it's kind of the best parts of both Acclimated and Servo Assisted shoved into one armor, and that works really well. It also comes in every type of armor, whether you want light, medium, or heavy. And it also looks pretty cool. So like Desert Stormer is it's a really good armor passive. Then we move on to the S tier armors, which we have 4 of them. And these ones I think are kind of the best armor passives, and there's not really a bad time to be taking any of them. Our first one is Extra Padding. Extra Padding is super basic, but it's really good. This one just gives you a higher armor rating. This one is pretty much like taking the bonuses of whatever current armor you have on, whether that be light, medium, or heavy, and then bumping it up to the next tier. It doesn't quite work that way because of how it's calculated in game, but this one is super nice. Like even the starting armors that just have extra padding, like the medium extra padding armors, are really good. I really like those ones. The light extra padded armor, which we only have one of, is I think honestly the best light armor in the game, because you take that with like the health booster and you can survive a surprising amount of stuff. This actually lets you survive quite a bit. The extra heavy padded armor is really good too, where you are just super tanky. There is only one of them as well. I kind of wish we would get some more options there, because I think it would be really interesting, especially if we got it on any of the armors that have different stats, because there are some that do, where they might be light armor but have higher armor rating than some of the other light armors. So I think extra padded there would be kind of cool, or extra padded in like heavy armor or medium armor. I mean, I would like more extra padding. I think it's pretty good. Next up is Medkit. This one also makes you tankier. It's very straightforward. You get 2 more stims, and your stims last for 2 more seconds. That's fantastic. This does come in all types of armors as well. There is 1 light and 1 heavy medic. All the rest of the armors are medium. I know one problem with the medkit armor is that there's not really any really cool looking medkit armors, which is kind of true. I wish they would add something that would be a bit cooler with this, but maybe just have it be like heavy armor and like all white with just like red crosses on it or something, or green crosses or whatever it might be. I think that could be kind of cool, but overall, like, medkit is fantastic. You survive longer because you have more healing. That's really good overall, or you can give more healing to teammates, which is also good. Next armor is Fortified, also another basic armor passive, but a really good one. This one reduces the recoil of all weapons by 30%. That's pretty nice. It does say when crouching or prone, but I believe this is from any stance, same thing as like the engineering kit. And it also gives you 50% explosive resistance. That is really good, especially against bots. It makes it so if you take like heavy fortified armor with the health booster, you become really difficult to kill. It takes you a very long time, assuming that you don't get one shot by like the Strider cannon or like by one of the towers. Those are about the only things that can kill you quickly. I guess the fortress turrets too, those things can kill you kind of fast, especially if they hit you in the head. But this just makes you like super tanky on bot missions. You can actually be pretty tanky on bug missions too, since the Titans can't kill you quickly then either. And then our very last armor in S tier goes to Siege Ready. Siege Ready is fantastic as well. This one makes it so the reload speed of all primary weapons is increased by 30%. That's really good, just makes it so all of your primary weapons feel a little bit snappier. And it also increases the ammo capacity of all weapons by 20%. This doesn't affect backpack weapons though, so if you have like the recoilless rifle, the autocannon, things like that, you're not going to get extra ammo. But if you're carrying around like the heavy machine gun, regular machine gun, the stalwart, the spear gun, I do really like this with the spear gun too, the anti-material rifle, anything like that, you will get extra ammo for. And this does make it so quite a few weapons feel a lot better. This makes it so like the Scorcher feels a lot better, because I think that weapon is insanely strong, but you just only get a couple of magazines for it before you completely run out. So Siege Ready giving you an extra one is pretty nice. Does make it so certain weapons like the Constitution feel a little bit better, where you have to reload them pretty frequently, or like the Punisher shotguns, any of the family there, where you have to reload them 1 round at a time. Siege Ready does make those weapons feel a lot better. So this one's just a bonus for basically everything. And that's where I put all the armor passives in Helldivers. Tell me your thoughts on these. Again, this isn't to like dissuade you from picking any of the armors. If you think an armor looks cool, if you really like a passive, go for that one. Especially if you're doing like some sort of themed build, then absolutely go for it. Tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them down in the comments below. You guys take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.